Let me show you why Mayuri is a lot more calculated than you give him credit for. In episode 24, during the captain's meeting, it is announced that some Ryoka have found their way into the Soul Society. Ishida is one of the Ryoka, obviously, but it isn't explicitly said in the captain's meeting that one of the Ryoka is a Quincy. As we know, Mayuri is the captain of the 12th Division, also known as the Shinigami Research and Development Institute. Now, some information that isn't revealed until way later in the story is that Mayuri uses surveillance bugs, and he definitely has them all over the Serite. One of the jobs of the 12th Division is to identify intruders, and because Mayuri has these bugs planted all over the Serite, he can identify soul signatures. So while it isn't talked about in the story to this point, Mayuri going into the battle against Ishida, he is well aware that Ishida is a Quincy due to his extensive Quincy research he did in the past. But I know what you're thinking, why is any of this information you're telling me important? In episode 43, the fight between Mayuri and Ishida begins, and Ishida makes a very quick movement, and Mayuri thinks to himself, wow, he's fast. But what does Mayuri choose to say out loud? He says, wow, a Quincy, knowing coming into this fight that Ishida is a Quincy. So why would he say this out loud? Why would he act surprised about the fact that Ishida is a Quincy? The reason is he wanted to make slow deductions throughout this fight to confirm the thing that has already been on his mind. Is Ishida related to the previous Quincy that he dissected? Now don't get it twisted, Mayuri definitely did what he did in this next scene because he knew that Ishida was a Quincy. He probably didn't know for 100% certainty that they were related. But what he does know for a fact approaching this next scene is that the Quincy are extremely proud of their heritage. So that's why, while it isn't discussed to this point that Mayuri even knew that one of the Ryoka was a Quincy, he pulls out a photo of the last Quincy he has dissected. Specifically, he pulls out a photo of the disfigured head of Ishida's grandfather. The reason Mayuri did this was literally just to be disrespectful because he knew Ishida was a Quincy. That is why he turns around and tries to ponder on what the name of his victim was, already knowing the name, obviously. And when Ishida clues Mayuri in on the fact that that is his grandfather as well as his mentor, Mayuri turns around and says to Ishida, okay, and? Completely disregarding Ishida's emotions. This is one of the most insane scenes in all of Bleach and probably one of the biggest feats in writing history. When I first saw this scene, I thought it was just a plot hole because why would Mayuri have the photo on him? But once I realized he went out of his way to grab that photo for this situation, it truly made me realize how corrupt Mayuri actually is. Next, I want to talk about an action scene later in the Soul Society arc. After Ichigo completes his Bankai training, he shows up to save Rukia, and he throws Rukia down to Renji and says, run away from here. Now, keep in mind, Byakuya is staring right into Ichigo's eyes, waiting to fight him. Also, keep in mind that Ichigo struggled against Renji and Ikkaku just a few episodes ago, so to face off against Byakuya, he's definitely gonna have to have some luck on his side. Especially considering that Soifan and Unohana both just sent their lieutenants after Renji, and Yamamoto's lieutenant is also going after Renji. This is where we get one of the most insane scenes in Bleach that you may have overlooked because it goes by so fast. Ichigo intercepts the three lieutenants, stabbing Zangetsu into the ground, choosing to go hands only against these three lieutenants. All three of them pop their Shikai, and Ichigo once again was only lieutenant level just a few episodes ago, but despite this, he goes in with only his mittens and smashes the Shikai of Omaida. And then after smashing his Shikai, he finishes the other two lieutenants off with ease without even using his Zanpakuto. This situation is optimal for Byakuya, who has been watching this entire time and decides to slime Ichigo in the back. But Ichigo senses him coming, pulls Zangetsu out of the ground, and quickly turns around and blocks his attack before he's hurt. This is a nasty action sequence that goes by way too quick. And what makes this scene even crazier is the one who put the scar on the head captain's face is actually the head captain's lieutenant himself. And what did Ichigo do to the lieutenant who was able to scar one of the most powerful men in the entire universe? Next, I want to talk about one of the most insane things that Aizen has ever done. He faked his death without telling his lieutenant, Momo. The way he faked his death obviously made it look like a murder, and who is the most obvious culprit? probably the guy smiling suspiciously. So she tries to get revenge for her captain, but she's intercepted by Gin's lieutenant before she can attack Gin himself. She's then thrown in prison for trying to attack a captain, and when she's in prison, she finally gets a chance to read the letter that Aizen left behind the night before he was supposedly murdered. In this letter, Aizen says the person who is responsible for his murder is Captain Hitsugaya, who is also Momo's brother. Quick side note, I know they're foster siblings, but yes, it is still her brother. Because Momo is so loyal to her captain, she has to try to attack her brother to get revenge for Aizen. She's so broken at this point. She thinks Aizen, her captain, was murdered. She thinks her brother is the one responsible for it. And because she is so mentally damaged at this point, she has to make a decision, and that decision is to attack her brother. And I'm sure you can imagine how that ended for Momo. Aizen coerced Hitsugaya into smacking his own sister in order to defend himself. And later on, when we see Aizen kill Momo, or at least he believes he kills Momo, but she's saved thanks to the help of Unohana, he reveals that the fight between Hitsugaya and Momo was 100% planned from the very beginning, and Aizen didn't even want to be the one to kill Momo. He intended for Hitsugaya to cut down Momo in this scene. Keep in mind, if Aizen's plan went absolutely perfectly, he still planned to reveal himself after he retrieved the Hogyo-Q, which means that Aizen's intention was to let Momo die at the hands of her own brother under the impression that her brother slayed her captain, while letting Hitsugaya live the rest of his life knowing that Aizen coerced his sister into attacking him and that his sister died at the hands of her own brother. If everything went according to plan here, this was definitely going to be one of the more evil things that Aizen did. Although, had everything went to plan once again when he tried to kill Momo but she was saved by Unohana, that also would have been pretty bad. I mean, just think about all the manipulation and mental torment that Momo has went through at this point. And when it's finally revealed to her that her captain has been alive this entire time and he faked his death, there's now another thing revealed to her, and that is her captain has been evil this entire time and he betrays her by stabbing her. If that was the end of Momo, that somehow might have been a little bit worse than getting killed by Hitsugaya. But what if I told you there was a character more evil than Mayuri, more sinister than Aizen, a character so nasty, a character so despicable that I dare not mutter their name? I am, of course, talking about Shinsui's niece. Hold on, let me explain. I know it sounds dumb, but I am serious. After Shinsui was able to successfully defeat Chad, of course, he spared him because Shinsui is not an evil character, even doing as much as to step in for Rukia when she was supposed to be executed. He knows that Rukia doesn't deserve to be executed, and I'm sure to an extent he respects Chad for coming into the Soul Society despite being a weak human just to save his friend. But Shinsui's niece is feeding to execute Chad. She's even going as far as to gaslight Shinsui in order to finish Chad off.
Wait, one moment, Captain. I just noticed something. This Ryoka.
It isn't dead yet.
Shall I administer the
Killing blow?
Leave him be, Nano.
But Captain!
One of these same Ryoka was probably responsible for the murder of Captain Aizen.
Subscribe if you want to see more Bleach videos. I can make a video like this on all of the other arcs in the show. Just let me know by subscribing.